Welcome. Welcome to the May 21st, 2026. Steve has ADD edition of this vlog. I first want to say rest in peace to Barney Frank. He was simply the best person for us to send on talk shows because he was wicked smart, as they like to say in Massachusetts. And I will never understand why in 2009, when Ted Kennedy passed away, why the Obama administration chose not to have him fill out the remainder of the term. Barney, to me, was the shoe-in to do it, but instead they chose Ed Markey, and I still, to this day, have no idea why Obama didn't choose him. And that just cemented for Barney why he's going to retire. So he passed the Dodd-Frank legislation, which restored sanity to the banking system, and he then retired. I got attacked yesterday on Twitter from someone who said, well, but what he did led to the K-shaped economy. I was like, no, that's not true. But anyhow, wish you well. Really need to get off Twitter. Yesterday, Robert Frank, who is a behavioral economist, made an observation, speaking of K-shaped economy, that I really wanted to share today with you, but I can't find his post anywhere because now if you Google Robert Frank, all you get is Barney Frank. But to let you know what you should know about Robert Frank, his book Choosing the Right Pond is one of my favorite books. And his point, he's a management expert in the world of economics. So again, he was a behavioral economist before the term existed. And the two big takeaways that I remember from this book is why be the fifth best player in New York when you can be a rock star in St. Louis? So he was looking at different sports teams and saying, no matter how much your payroll is, you're never going to be able to attract all the best talent because you don't want to be a bench warmer in one state, in one city, when you can be the rock star in another. He also made the point, which I think is really important in so many companies that I've been on so many search committees where we make this mistake over and over again. And his point was you should hire the best fit, the person who is right for this position, for this job, which is not always, in fact, usually is not the most qualified person. If you think about it, it's actually a smart idea. Smart. There's quite a bit of political news yesterday. There are several polls that came out. I'm going to summarize the ones that got my attention. Graham Plattner, the guy who had a Nazi tattoo, the Democrat who had a Nazi tattoo on his chest that he has since had removed, leads Susan Collins by 8. Yay. The most important poll that came out yesterday was a Fox poll, and it had no good information for Republicans in this. This poll is a disaster across the board. It shows that Trump is minus 52 on inflation, minus 42 on the economy. He's even underwater on border security. I love the fact that Fox viewers got to see that even on the issue of border security, he's minus 2. And perhaps the most important note on this is that the non-college white men, in other words, the uneducated whites, he went from plus 17 in March of 2025 to minus 8 now. So he's now 25 points swing among what was his key demographic that got him elected in 2024. Also worth noting yesterday, the Trump phone that people have ordered, the database of the people who ordered it has been compromised. And so there's an internet sleuth out there called CoffeeZilla, Voidzilla. And anyhow, long story short, he ordered a Trump phone, and whoever accessed the database sent him basically the database and said, I have all of your personal information, and everybody who's ordered a Trump phone, their personal information has been leaked out. Why this is not surprising, whatever. This is what I've come to expect. And so also what I've come to expect is the news yesterday that a man who was jailed because he celebrated Charlie Kirk's death uh, has now been paid $835,000. And so because he was jailed over free speech. Republicans, again, took to Twitter yesterday to say, well, this justifies Trump's slush fund for all the people who were January 6th. To be very clear here, saying I am happy Charlie Kirk is dead is a very different thing than saying than these people scaling the walls and literally trying to kill people and hang Mike Pence and go after Nancy Pelosi. These are not equal things. Ugh. Um, so Marco Rubio has had a wet dream for his entire life to invade Cuba. And yesterday, it was announced that Raul Castro has been indicted over something that happened back in 1996. To be clear, this is what's called pretext. They are giving a pretext to invade Cuba. So that's what's next up on your war front. Jeff Bezos gave an interview the other day in which he pissed off everyone. I'm just going to read what I wrote here. He simultaneously said rich people should pay more in taxes, working stiffs should be happy, and Trump has matured in office. He did come out, interestingly, in favor of Zohran Mamdani's tax on second houses in New York. So I hope that of all the wealth taxes out there, that's the one I hope gets to stick. So perhaps it will. You got a billionaire weighing in positively on it. But really, Trump has matured in office. Jeff. NVIDIA came out with its earnings last night, and stocks are going to be up today because NVIDIA blew the top off again. It's very good news if you're an NVIDIA shareholder. I am not. NVIDIA has a market cap as of right now, before the markets open in America, $4.7 trillion. To put that into context, the FTSE in London, the entire London Stock Exchange, has a market value of $2.7 trillion. The DAX in Germany, again, Germany's stock exchange, has a total market cap of $2.6 trillion. NVIDIA, Apple, Google, Meta, all of these companies have a stock exchange bigger. These individual companies are bigger than the entire stock exchange of our best allies. It's unbelievable how big American companies have become. Talk about too big to fail. And it's also interesting because OpenAI is hoping to go public, and Anthropic, I'm not going to go into it right now too much, except to say that Anthropic is a company that I find interesting, and I look forward to seeing where their thing goes. OpenAI, I think is going to be a crash and burn. Why? Because I think Google Gemini has already eaten OpenAI's lunch, and their agreement with Apple has basically shut OpenAI out. Also in financial news, when it comes to IPOs, yesterday SpaceX released its S1, which is its prospectus, and the financials do not match the hype. So Elon is hoping this will be close to a $2 trillion market cap. There is nothing in the financials that indicate it could be worth that much, but that's never stopped Elon, and the Elonistas will be happy to way overpay to buy SpaceX. So yeah. In Iowa political news, Governor Reynolds has bowed to anti-vaxxers and said that if you're a teenage girl and you want to go and have the HPV vaccine, you can't get it now without parental permission. No idea why she'd take this stance. It's a ridiculous stance, but that's where we are. It's fascinating to me because you can go back to 2007 when then Texas Governor Rick Perry mandated the HPV vaccine for all sixth graders. He was doing the right thing, but he was doing it for the wrong reasons. It turned out that he had a financial interest in the company making the HPV vaccine. So surprise, surprise, he mandated it as a way to help line his own pockets and the pockets of his cronies. Does that sound familiar to you? Congratulations to Aubrey Rocco. As I said yesterday, she was going to be the winner of Survivor 50, and she has. And all I can say is that I went into this season with incredible anticipation, and it jumped the shark so many times. Henry Winkler deserves a royalty check. In what I consider to be really big news, James Murdoch, of the Murdoch fame. If you watch the TV show Succession, which if you haven't, I cannot recommend a TV show more than Succession. He played the role of kind of a cross between Shove and Cameron. He was the black sheep of the family in that he's not so ideologically right wing. And so he's gone out and bought Vox. And I consume more information from Vox than I do any other news source out there. I read The Verge and watch their podcasts. Pivot with Kara Swisher and Scott Galloway. I just everything from Vox, including going all the way back to 2009 before Vox even existed. There was this little boy, I shouldn't say that, but a teenager who created a post about the HP Pavilion, and this guy named Marques Brownlee uh, created this post about the HP Pavilion that I found so compelling that when I went out to buy a computer, I bought the HP Pavilion. I bought the one that he did an unveiling and showed all the features of it, and I thought it looked awesome and went out and bought it. And I followed Marques all along. He's now anyhow, he's turned his podcast, he's turned his YouTube into a podcast called Waveform that I watch every week religiously. I think he's a god, and he's now technically working for James Murdoch. So I look forward to seeing how that goes. A lot left to go there. Happy 8th anniversary to Harry and Meghan. I did not watch the wedding. I was visiting Ireland at the time, and as you can see on this in this picture, I was visiting my friends Jenny and Jamie. Jamie happens to be cousins to Liam Neeson, and on this day, he and I did not want to watch the wedding, and so we decided to go to a pub. And as we were driving to the pub, we went by his elementary slash middle school, and I was like, let's stop in and see it. And he was excited too. He said, I haven't been there since I left decades ago. And so we went in and we happened to meet the principal of the school, just happened to be there. And so we took a tour. And I'm not into the Hogwarts or whatever, but all I can say is this building was an incredibly beautiful elementary middle school. And the fact that James went to an all boys Catholic school sponsored by the state is just fascinating given everything that we're arguing in Iowa about vouchers and whether or not the state can fund a private school and blah, 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 blah. But anyhow, touring this school brought me, I remember this more than I remember most other things of that trip. It was truly amazing. Um, I want to give a shout out to happy birthday to the best boss I've ever had. Linda Abernathy was my boss at Hamilton, and she, I, all I can say going back to this actually ties back to Robert Frank, in choosing the right pond. I, Hamilton was my favorite place of all the places I've worked at, in that I got to teach an incredible variety of classes. I got to teach principles of management, strategic management, political economy. I got to do what I wanted, and I got to do what I wanted largely because Linda, who was hands down the best professor at our institution, was an accountant who just is also one of the best human beings on the planet. And she when she left Hamilton, I should have realized that the writing was on the wall and I should have got out, but I didn't. She's since moved on to St. Louis. She's continuing to teach on the side, but she's pursuing her passion, and her passion is art. And so she's doing art showings all across the St. Louis and Missouri region. And I just am so happy for her. Wonderful human being. Speaking of birthdays, happy birthday to my German friend Kevin. And I'm sharing this picture because this is us at Oktoberfest in 2017. He was born and raised in the ridiculously scenic Saarbrücken. And if you ever want to see a place that will make you just have your jaw dropped everywhere you go, be sure to visit the Saarland in Germany. It is just, oh, unbelievably beautiful. But I had to share this picture because I think I make a better looking German than Kevin does. So Kevin, for the record now, has Married an American woman, and he's now running his own company in Arizona. And I wish him and his wife, whose birthday was yesterday, all the best. And they are wonderful people, and I hope to visit them someday when I'm back in America. I bring this up, a particular picture of me looking good, because I'm ending this with a picture where I look not so good. Today in 2009, I was the coach of a team that won the a uni-wide speech contest slash debate contest. And so my team won the overall, we were the best speech and debaters. And I'm sharing this picture because number one, that shirt really matches that tie. That is a fantastic combination. And they gave me flowers. It's the first time in my life anybody has given me flowers, that students have ever given me flowers. How wonderful. But also, I didn't own a scale back then. And let's be clear, I probably weighed 240. I don't know, because I really didn't weigh myself back then. When I came to the country in 2008, I assumed I'd lose weight. And instead, I found the Macarabia at McDonald's and a whole lot of different foods that I had never had before that I loved. And I ate and ate and ate and ate and ate and gained a whole lot of weight. Which other news that came out yesterday is that they've done an approval of new GLP-1 drugs that come in pills. So people who are afraid of needles will now be able to get GLP-1 by pills. Yay. But that picture also inspired me to put on my favorite tie. Now, on the camera, you may not be able to see this, but this is my Coca-Cola tie. So it's Coca-Cola in tiny stripes, that whatever. And so it is my favorite tie. This is the ADD edition because I had so many things to talk about that I didn't even get to. And that's my world. I wish you all well, and I will see you tomorrow.